All right, everyone. So let's go ahead and let's talk about getting set up to make a soapbox inside of Adobe Illustrator. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make a new file. Now, one of the beauties of this project is we can fit it on a single 8.5 by 11 template. So in this project, I've given you some very specific dimensions, and it's actually pretty easy. And I actually have a Dove soapbox that I will have you actually measure, look at, so you actually know how to set all this up. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how I would do this knowing what I know. So first things first, let's just go ahead and make the actual front face of the box. So it's going to be 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And I know if there's a front, there's also going to be a back. So I can hold Alt and I can duplicate it. Now for the sides, I'm going to go ahead and I can just use a transform panel. It's going to have a width of 1.25. So there's side number 1 and side number 2. And notice how I'm just lining things up and I'm getting them nice and aligned. So there I have my round area of the box. Now I have to do the two top parts, so the two top tabs. So they're going to be, again, they're going to have a width of 2.5 and a height of 1.25. So this is the side here. And this is the side here. So you see, I already have an easy template happening. Now I need to add in things such as tabs because I need to be able to glue this. So the easiest way to do that, again, hold Alt, duplicate this shape over. And now I'm going to make this half the size. So I'm just going to drag it in until I hit that center. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the direct select tool and I'm going to grab an individual anchor point. And I'm going to drag them in somewhere around 0.8, whatever. So there, now I have a tab. And for some of these other shapes, I'm going to do the same thing as well. I'm going to drag them down. I'm going to make them about a 1/2 inch tall. And again, I'm going to use a direct select tool, drag them in, maybe a little less, so 0.11 is good. So there's 1. There's 2. Number 3 here. And I can use my direct select tool. And I can drag these out as well. So there we go. I have tabs on one side. Now I just need tabs on the other. I can use my reflect tool. And I can reflect these vertically. Nope. Horizontally. There we go. And I can move them up. So quickly, easily, in just a couple minutes, I've made a template. Now, let's go ahead and let's clean this template up and let's really get it ready to go. So first things first, when I print it, I don't need all these black lines. I do have double lines happening. So what I'll do is I'll grab my direct select tool, I'll click, and I'll start deleting a couple of those inside lines. There we go. Get rid of that one. And last one, get rid of that one. So now, oop, there's a double line there. Get rid of that one. There we go. I've gotten rid of all those double lines. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this and I'm going to make it 0.25. I'm going to go ahead, change the stroke and make it a dash line, 2 points. So now you guys will notice I have a good template. I have a nice light lines. They'll still be there, but they're pretty light by now. So now I'm going to go ahead, grab everything. I'm going to lock them. And I can also even make a new layer, and I can call the layer template. And I can actually, here, let me grab them. I'll put them on my template, and I'll just lock the whole layer. So now we can do all our artwork on this layer, and then we have a template of line work. So now I know exactly how everything appears. Now it's time to start getting ready to actually build this project. So the first step, one of the constraints I'm giving you is you can only use 2 colors. So to do a 2-color job, you have to use an actual specific swatch. So that means we have to use something like the Pantone color system. So in this case, you're going to pick 2 color swatches, but we can extend those swatches by using tints inside of Illustrator. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to get this ready to put in the swatches. So one of the first things I like to do, I grab my swatch panel here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it a list view, and I'm going to just delete all the swatches I'm not using. So I'm going to keep registration, and if you don't know what registration is, it means that color shows up on all the plates. And I'm going to keep white and black just so I have them, but the rest of these swatches, I'm going to hold shift and just delete them. I'm going to do this because it makes it real easy for me to clean up my swatches and just keep things organized. Now, let's go ahead and let's load in my colors. So I've already looked at a Pantone book. I have an idea where I'm going, so I'm going to go ahead and just click that little library, color books, and I'm using the Pantone solid coded manual. So I go ahead and I pull that up, and now I can search for them by numbers. So the first one I want is 321. I'm coming back now and I'm re-editing this video, and I have to change some things. So back when I recorded this video, Pantone was still included inside of the Adobe products. Over the past few years, they have unbundled all their swatches out of the products, and they've brought their own system, which is the Pantone Connect system, and you can look at the Pantone website to see it. But either way, I'm going to show you how to make spot colors inside of Adobe Illustrator. Maybe not make them, but how to define them. So we can still do the project and you can get practice working with spot colors. So as before, I am going to go ahead and clear out my swatches panel. So I'm going to select them all. I'm going to delete them all, and I'm going to start with just registration, white, and black. Now, I can go to swatches, and I can try to open a swatch library and go to color books. And you'll notice I still have some of the color books. We have HKS, which is a European color system. And we also have the Toyo Color Finder, which is a Japanese color system. And both of those could work if we needed to. So let's look at the Toyo Color Finder. We could go in here and we could find a swatch of some form that we like. And we can define the tints for the swatch, which you would see me do. But if you happen to have a Pantone book, you can also still specify those swatches. Now, if you're a working professional and you're working with Pantone colors, I would say you definitely need to subscribe to Pantone to get the access to the proper swatches. But for learning purposes, we can go ahead and define it. So I have access to Color Bridge Guide, and the Color Bridge Guide is kind of neat because it shows both the Pantone swatch on the left and it shows how the swatch will look when printed with CMYK, and that's the one on the right. Also, in the Color Bridge, they give you an RGB code, an HTML code, and they give you the equivalent CMYK. So we can define our swatch using this Color Bridge. And if you don't have the Color Bridge guidebook, that's okay. If you search for a Pantone color online, you can also get these formulas from other websites. So let's talk about defining our colors. So in this one, I'm going to define Pantone 321. So I'm going to go to my swatch and I'm going to say new swatch. And I'm going to tell it to be a spot color. And I'm going to define this based on the RGB values. So for Pantone 321, the color is, so here we go, 0, 140, 149. And since I've defined it as a spot color, it becomes a global color. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And actually, let's give it a name. So we'll call it PMS for Pantone Matching System 321C. The other color I was going to define was Pantone 412C. So I'm going to make a new color, call it PMS 421C. Again, it's a spot color. I'm going to use the RGB, and I'm going to use this one, which is 56, 47, 45. 56, 47, and 45. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So I have defined my two spot colors within Adobe Illustrator. I could also use a color book. So if I wanted to find a color that was similar, I could try like this CF color and I could add it in and it would work the same way. So let me show you how to set up these colors and how to create tints. So we're going to make some boxes in no stroke. So let me make a color right here. This will be my PMS 321. Whoops, not my stroke. I want my fill to be that. And I'm going to go ahead and make a copy down. So this will be 100% fill. Now we're going to tint this at 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, and 10. So that's all my colors. So let's go ahead and let's change them here. So now we're going to build my tint. So let me give this a 90%. So we can go to Window. We're going to do Color, which is already up here, Color. If your color doesn't have the slider right here, you need to Show Options. So if it's like this, you can say Show Options, and now I can go in and I can actually type 90%. This would be 80. 70. 60. 50, 40, 30, 20, and 10. Because anything below 10 would basically be white. So now I have a good ramp of colors that I can use for my project. Let's go ahead, let's duplicate it, and let's do the same for the Pantone 421. Notice if I click it, it's going to set them all up for me. And just to show you, even if we want to use a Toyo color, it would work the same way. Let me just copy it over here so you guys could see. Notice it's going to set up my tints. So that is how I get my spot colors in, and I define tints. So what I've done is I've taken my single color and I've actually given myself a lot of different options for the color. I can even go a step further, and I can make these as new swatches. So if I select them and say new swatch, oops, that one didn't work. I think it was new group, new swatch group. And here we go. So we can call this PMS 321, selected artwork, include swatches for tints, and click OK. And there we go. There's my 100% all the way down to 10%. So you can actually add in all your swatches and get ready to actually design the work. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it back to the other video, and you guys can build your swatches using this approach.
Now that we have the tint set up, let's go ahead and keep moving forward. So I could develop my artwork on this template actually using things rotated, but I'll be honest, I think that's kind of hard. So what we're going to do instead, I'm going to go ahead and add some artboards for each one of these faces of the box. So first things first, let's go ahead and let's just edit artboards. So for artboard 1, I'm going to go ahead and give it a name, and this is going to be called my flat artwork. And now let's start making a new artboard. So right next to it, if I just hit this, I can make a new artboard, but we need to adjust some sizes. So we're going to name this one top. And the size we're going to do, the width of this one, and make sure your reference point is probably the top left. That's the easiest. So the width for this one, we are going to go 3.5, and the height is going to be 2.5. So that is our top face, which would fit one of these boxes. If I hold Alt, I can drag down, make another duplicate copy, and I can call this bottom. Now we have a front, so let me hit new. And I like to align things just because I do. So for our front, Our front is going to have the same width, but our height is going to change because it's only 1.25. Same thing for our back. Make one new one. Now for our left, the size here is a little bit different. It's not 3.5, it's 2.5. And we're going to call this, we'll do left, and then we'll do one for right. So that right there gives us all of our boxes, all of our faces for our box here. So now I can easily design here and then actually put it on the template here as I go. And I could actually label these, but I'm going to go ahead and build it because I already know where things are going. So I already have an inspiration for this project, and that inspiration is this marine graphic. And I got this graphic from a vector pack from probably from Envato, I believe. I don't exactly remember. I got it years ago, and I spent, I don't know, maybe $100, and I got thousands and thousands of vector objects. And I like that because it gives me a lot of different options. So I like this look, and this is the look I'm going to go for my soapbox. And then I have another element right here that I'm going to use. And then I'm also going to take and use one of these frames here. And I'm just using this to make my life easy. I expect you guys to actually design your own. Before I even get started with speeding it up, let me show you a quick little a trick. It's called a gradient mesh. And I'm going to use this for my background. I'm going to hit the mesh tool. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in some points. Thing about the mesh tool, I can grab these individual anchors and I can actually use different swatches at these anchor points. So I'm going to grab these few, and what it's going to do is it's going to make a nice, maybe I'll take that one to 70. It gives you a nice gradient over the whole background. So you're going to notice I'm going to use this one background for my whole project. So from here, I am going to go ahead and speed up the video. You're going to watch me use some of the elements, change some of them, and do different things.